Hey friends, I'm still working on catching up on these reading wrap-ups, but July was a great month. Do I remember anything about it? Not really. I did have a great unicorn-themed birthday party for 2, but after that all of the days this summer feel the same. However, I did read 16 books in July of 2020 and they were awesome. Let's start with the middle grade books that I read. If you've watched my last few reading wrap-ups, then you'll know that I spent the summer reading Rick Riordan's books. And I continued with that. I read the first 4 books in the Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan. I only read the first 4 books because I did not realize that the 5th book was not out yet when I started reading the series. So I read The Hidden Oracle, The Dark Prophecy, The Burning Maze, and The Tyrant's Tomb, and not the 5th book. This series has Apollo returning to Earth as a human as a punishment from his dad Zeus. I thought this series did a really good job of highlighting the family dysfunction of the Greek gods, featuring relationships with abusive parents and a story about learning how to break the cycle of abuse. This story also really played up the fact that Apollo is bisexual, or pansexual. It's not explicit with labels, but Apollo has had children with men and women. It's a great series about learning to be human and explores what's great about humanity. I'm giving the first 4 books in the Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan 4 stars. I also read the complete Magnus Chase series by Rick Riordan. This trilogy consists of The Sword of Summer, The Hammer of Thor, and The Ship of the Dead. As you might guess from the name of these books, this series is about Norse mythology. It follows Magnus Chase, son of Frey, and cousin of Annabeth Chase, a daughter of Athena. But it was really nice to depart from Greek and Roman mythology to something completely different. Magnus dies in the first book and is sent to Valhalla. He befriends a group of other teenagers that were sent to Valhalla and trains to be a great warrior for Odin when the world ends. This book has a really nice exploration of gender, as there is a gender-fluid character that is a child of Loki. There is also a Muslim character who is also a daughter of Loki, and from what I've heard from Muslim reviewers, it's not the best representation, but I can't really speak to that. Overall, I thought this series was fun. I'm giving the Magnus Chase trilogy by Rick Riordan 4 stars. Moving on, I read 5 comics. I read the graphic novel middle grade series The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag. The Witch Boy trilogy consists of The Witch Boy, The Hidden Witch, and The Midwinter Witch. The series is about a family where everyone gets magical powers. Girls become witches and boys become shapeshifters. This story is about a boy who defies gender rules and becomes a witch. It's a pretty fun story about having the courage to be who you are and to be accepted for who you are. I'm giving the Witch Boy trilogy by Molly Knox Ostertag 4 stars. Next, I picked up the Backstagers Volume 1, Rebels Without Applause by James Tinian IV, Ryan Sy, and Walter Baiamonte. This is about the stage crew at an all-boys private school with an impressive theater program. Backstage, there is a portal to an amazing, unpredictable, and magical world that constantly puts the stage crew in danger as they try to keep it a secret from the actors, the teacher, and the rest of the world. Oh, it's also queer as hell. I'm giving the Backstagers Volume 1, Rebel Without Applause by James Tinian IV, Ryan Sy, and Walter Baiamonte 4 stars. I continued reading Crowded with Volume 2 by Christopher Sabella, Ted Brandt, Rose Stein, and Skylar Partridge. This book takes place in a near future where the economy is almost entirely app-based and people can crowdfund an assassination. The series follows a girl with the largest price on her head in all of history and her bodyguard as they try to outrun anyone who is pursuing them, and pretty much everyone on Earth is pursuing them. This story is fast-paced and intense, and I feel like the story improved a lot in Volume 2 as the characters became more fleshed out. I'm giving Crowded Volume 2 by Christopher Sabella, Ted Brandt, Rose Stein, and Skylar Partridge 4 stars. I read one piece of young adult fiction in July. It was You Should See Me in a Crowd by Leah Johnson. This is about a queer black girl running for prom queen in her small Midwest town in order to get a scholarship to go to the school of her dreams. Liz Lady has always felt too black, too poor, and too awkward to really excel in her small town, but when her financial aid falls through to attend college, play in a world-class orchestra, and join the prestigious pre-med program, she decides to take a chance and run for prom queen to get that sweet prom queen scholarship money. When she starts to develop feelings for the competition, though, things get complicated. It's a fun and beautifully written story. I'm giving You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson 4 stars. Next, I read 2 books that I am going to classify as historical fiction. First, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Everyone I know has been telling me to read this book for ages, and they were right. I loved this book. It was fantastic. A glamorous movie star who had worked in the industry for decades gives her first interview in years to a relatively unknown journalist. Much to the journalist's surprise, this isn't just an interview for a magazine, but this movie star has picked her to create the only authorized biography of her life. She tells her entire life story to this journalist, and the story of all 7 of her husbands, and the love of her life, which was another brilliant movie star and a woman. It is a really well-written book. It definitely lived up to all the hype. Unfortunately, I found the violence against women and the abuse that Evelyn Hugo experienced triggering. It handled it really well, and it was realistic and I think a respectful portrayal of surviving abuse. I can't handle it. I'm giving The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid 4 stars. The second piece of historical fiction I read was The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Kranger. This is the 3rd Welcome to Night Vale novel. It tells the life story of the faceless old woman who secretly lives in your home, in all of our homes, and how she got there. The story is told in 2 parts. There are these flashbacks of a tragic childhood in the Mediterranean in the early 19th century, a story of smugglers and spies, revenge, piracy, and betrayal. She traveled the world to end up in Night Vale. We are interrupted from her life story with the faceless old woman's interactions with a man who is living in Night Vale now. A man named Craig, who she takes a particular interest in. This book is creepy, adventurous, and weird. I'm giving The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Kranger 4 stars. Finally, I read one nonfiction book in July, All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. Like 2 days after I read this book, George M. Johnson came out as non-binary. This is a memoir about growing up as a black queer boy. The author stations themselves as a mentor when they write, someone who is telling you everything they've been through and how they made it through in the hopes, I think, that it will be better for you. They share their thoughts on gender, masculinity, and the power of growing up in a loving and supportive environment. I think it was an excellent book. I don't think it was a book that I needed, and I don't think it was a book written for me as an AFAB queer Asian person, but I think it was a great book. I am giving All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson 4 stars. Those are all 16 books I read in July. It was an excellent reading month. A month with only 4-star reads is a great month. I know this is on a 5-star scale, but it's still a great reading month. I genuinely enjoyed all of these books, and I can't wait to get back to reading. Don't forget to say hi down in the comments, and if you want to see more from me, you can subscribe, watch another video of mine, or support me on Patreon. And hey, I love you!